The 1990s was a huge decade for sports leagues all across America. Many things happened that caused the games to be changed, the rules to be changed, how the audience is involved, but three in particular stand out: the MLB, the NBA, and college football. College football is one of the favorite sports here in America, as there's so many teams from so many places and so many states. It seems like everyone has that tie to that one team. And the competitive edge in college football is what makes it so great. Everyone's trying to make it to the NFL, everyone's fighting for their school, and it was this way in the 90s too. It was very competitive then, as there seemed to be no great dynasties as there are today, such as Alabama and Clemson. Although, Nebraska was the first team since the 70s to win back-to-back championships, which was in 94 and 95. Although, the biggest change in college football in the 90s was the change of the playoff system. In 1998, they moved from the ranking series to the BCS era. The BCS era is the Bowl Championship Series, which after the bowl games are played at the end of the season, the polls take number 1 and number 2, and they play in a BCS championship game. This made each game in the regular season more important, as this point system series took into account wins, losses, strength of schedule, average margin of victory. So it allowed the audience to be more involved even earlier in the season. And the most important news to people around these parts during the 90s was that the Tennessee Volunteers won the very first BCS national championship in 1998, defeating Florida State. And that's all the big news in the 90s of college football. And then we move on to the NBA. The NBA, it was a huge era for not just basketball but pop culture, as it seemed to come onto the scene in the 90s, with players such as Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, and Michael Jordan headlining it, along with Shaquille O'Neal. Not only was basketball important, but also the culture surrounding it. People were famous not just for their skills, but for their actions off the court. And then, of course, there was the bad boy Pistons of the early 90s, who physically dominated every other team in the league, ending the Lakers and Celtics dynasty of the 80s, and then stopping Jordan in the early 90s until he got some supporting cast. Their physical play shocked the league, as they literally beat up every team that they could get a hold of. Then Michael Jordan and the Bulls took over in 91 and went on to win 3 straight NBA championships, and then again 3 straight championships from 96 to 98. So in the 90s, Michael Jordan had 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 4 league MVPs, and a gold medal. So the NBA had a stellar 1990s, and all the pop culture behind it allowed the sport to become more popular. Now the MLB, America's pastime, had a huge 90s as well. In the 90s, first of all, there was a strike in 1994, which caused the cancellation of the World Series for the first time in 90 years. This caused the interest in baseball to go down, as people were mad, as it seemed that you had to have money to win the World Series. This was caused by teams such as the Yankees, known for being the richest team in baseball, and teams like the Atlanta Braves, who dominated the early 90s. There was also some changes in the players that were involved, as a Japanese player, Nomo, was the first Japanese player to play in the league since the mid-60s. This is huge not just for MLB baseball, but for Japanese players as they get out from under their strict contracts in Japan. There was also the steroid era, as balls seemed to be flying out of the park at a very high rate, headlined by Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, hitting over 61 home runs in a season. This was a huge time for all sports here in America, as rules were changed. Like the MLB, they went from 2 playoff teams per league to 4 playoffs per team, and allowed interleague play. In all these leagues, you see how the game was affected, the rules changed, how the fans were involved, and that's why sports had a huge decade in the 90s. Thank you.